It's mail time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mailbox Monday. Favorite lunchtime hour to get all your career questions answered while you're eating that delicious lunch, while you're rejuvenating yourself to get back on the grind. My name is Duncan Harrison, and I'm here with my co-host Jay Tyler. You got something to say to the people?
Always and everything. Peace and blessings, to the crew, to the family. Thanks for pulling up with us today. If you're on the replay, thanks for pulling up with us later on. But we're here just to give you some knowledge, some information on this Mailbox Monday. So hopefully everyone is having a magnificent Monday today.
Definitely. And so once again, our Mailbox Mondays is where, we get questions that are emailed to us from the viewers that may have career questions about the career, questions about their resume, questions, about many different things that, us as some subject matter experts get to answer, right? Because we've been in, this HR spectrum for a long time. And so we're just here to help out during your lunch hour. And so if you can, please just, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share, right? Because we may be able to answer some questions today that somebody else, may need to hear. So please definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, that notification. So when we come on Mondays, you know that we're here. And so we're not going to waste your time. Also, Definitely want to get straight into the Mailbox Monday question, but we're also post a link in the comments so that if you have something to say, if you have a comment, please, you can jump right into the live and share your thoughts with us, or you can just post your comments right in the comments section. All right. Definitely look forward to it. Jay Tyler, what's the question for today?
All right. So I'm going to say the questions. You can hit them with the link up in the chat, So we have a question today that is near and dear to everyone on this planet, not just New Jersey, not the tri-state, not, the nation, right? It's everywhere. Okay. And I think where I'm about to go with this, right? So COVID-19 has affected everybody, and it's still affecting people, right? And the one question that we received, that was interesting enough was about, employers and their ability and their legal means, to enforce the COVID vaccine. And so this is a real question. Not everyone is doing this right now, but there are definitely cases and scenarios where this is happening in workplaces, right? So we're here to help you with this question and to give you the best guidance that we can as HR experts, okay? And so I'm going to get to read this question by Tanisha R., right? We don't say the full name here, but Tanisha R., she wrote this to us a couple of days ago. We've been itching to actually answer this question today. And so we're going to go ahead and read this question, and let's see if we can help anyone out. So Tanisha says, "Dear Mercer County Works," and by the way, if I'm looking this way, I have another screen in front of me, all right? Just so you know. All right, so "Dear Mercer County Works, rumblings in my office make it seem that my employer is going to require us to get the COVID vaccine. So on a personal level, I don't feel that this maneuver is actually legal, and I don't want to be forced to do something just to keep my job. So from a perspective, yes, it makes some sense because everyone in the company does not work inside the office. Like a majority of others, I work inside the office, and I feel that positions like mine can be largely done through work from home. I just don't think my company is open to telecommuting at this time. So I'm asking, where is the line between providing for my family and my freedom to actually make personal decisions that have potential long-term implications? Hope that you can help me out. Tanisha R. So shout out to Tanisha for just giving us the opportunity to answer this question on a wide scale for everyone. And Tanisha, hopefully we're able to help you out today with this question. And so before we get into it, Dunk, because I'm going to go to you to answer first. But before we get into it, as you all may know or not know, I actually live and work in Qatar, even though I'm an American citizen, obviously, born in Elizabeth, New Jersey, but raised in Mercer County, right? So I can tell you about my situation here. So I work for a private school here in Qatar, And it wasn't my employer that told me I had to get the vaccine. It was actual government that told me I had to get the vaccine because I work in a school. And so school is one of the workplace environments where they said you need to get the vaccine if you work as a school employee, official, or teacher. And so, it's interesting in the US, it's not like that, right? You still do have some level of freedom to move and maneuver if you don't want to work at that company if they require it. But for me, if I want to live and work out here, I have to do it, So just keep that in mind, right? There's still a democracy there. There's still some personal choice. It just depends on how you want to maneuver with it. So Tanisha, let's get into the answer, and hopefully Duncan and I can give you something of substance. All right. So Duncan, before you begin, anything you want to say about this subject?
Well, I think that definitely it's a very touchy subject, right? So we've seen probably upwards of over 500,000, people, die from, across the country here, the U.S. die from, COVID-19, right? And so
Yeah.
we've seen businesses shut down. We've seen, unemployment at all time high, and so COVID-19 has definitely done some destruction across the world, right, across the nation, and has
Yeah.
kind of been an eye opener, an awakening for people, as well as it has exposed some things as well, and the lack of things that we may have in this country for different categories or for different categories or subsets of individuals, and so. Definitely a very good question. Definitely a subject that we have to talk about. Definitely a subject that should people should be talking about across the different neighborhoods and the communities, and especially in urban communities where some people are, really not for, the vaccination, where some people are reluctant, to get vaccinated, right? We can actually get into that probably a little bit later, after we actually answer Tanisha's question. And so, really the short answer, to her question, when we look at state and federal law around what's going on, and laws can change, and laws are always being, stretched and worked out. But the short answer to this is, your question is, can my employer require me to get vaccinated? The answer is yes, right? So your employer can actually require you to get vaccinated if you want to come back and work for that employer. Now, there are many other regulations around that, right? Does the employer actually have a policy set in place? Is the policy, ADA compliant, right? Does it, not adhere with any, religious or disability accommodations, right?
Correct.
Can the employer actually justify that, by you not getting vaccinated, is it going to harm other employees as well as customers, right? And so it's really a slippery slope, as well as it's a slippery slope really for the employer, to require that, all employees get vaccinated. But on the other hand, they can do that if we're looking at state law and not the federal law.
Yeah. Duncan, you hit the nail on the head, especially with the ADA compliance, right? Civil Rights Act compliance. You still have to respect, people's ability for religious beliefs, right? Like sincere religious beliefs, or a documented disability, right? That's very important for companies. They still are bound to those laws, right? It's not changing just because COVID is here. So that's a really good point to point out. But like Duncan said, like my compadre said, yes, it is technically legal. And it's legal because of what is called business necessity, right? So if a company deems, the vaccination for business necessity, that means that because of their work environment, they don't want to cause a serious threat to their employees, to the customers, or to the general public. So if that's the case, then they're going to say, for business necessity reasons, that we are mandating the COVID vaccine for our company. And like Duncan said, it should be a policy on the books that lets people know what this means for them in the company. Okay. So for example, if you're in a construction site where you may have some individuals working inside the office, but you have some people in the field working outside of the office, and they coming in and out sometimes, going through the office, things like that. It's still, that's a big risk, right? If you're not mandating, someone to get vaccinated, right? Because you are working around people, right? You're in the general public. I mean, heck, you're in the general public if you go to the supermarket,
Right.
if you go,
Right.
anywhere in the public in general. And, we're all humans. We don't follow the same rules and regulations or adhering to those things like everyone else. Some of us are different. We know we're going to do
Mhm.
our own thing. So it's just bigger than just the work environment itself. It's what we do when we leave home and what we do, in our own time. That's
Right.
also important why some companies may say, you know what, we're going to do the COVID vaccination so we just can control everything, right, as much as we
Mhm.
can. And it's up to you, I guess, as an employee to say, yeah, I want to be in that environment, or no, I need to work from home. So figure that out, So that's the policy too. So moving on to that, I think any company in their HR spaces and their executive boardrooms, they should be talking about working from home. They should be
Right.
talking about mandating some type of like real social distancing, right, in the
Mhm.
office and things like that. They should be looking at all options possible. And so hopefully for Tanisha's case, that's what her company is looking at, right? That they're going to be delaying it. And the rumblings are because they're looking at all options, that they have a real plan for everyone. Okay. I do think that there's a big opportunity for working from home. So
Right.
hopefully Tanisha gets that ability to do so, because I believe that she works in the office. All right. I think, one of the stats I'll hit you with, right? I read an article with USA Today, and shout out to Johnny Taylor. He's the president of SHRM, right? African-American man. So shout out to him as well. But in this article, he said nearly 2/3 of organizations, they will be encouraging their employees to get the COVID vaccine. So as he is saying, this guy's at the highest level of the SHRM and the HR world. He's saying that this is going to be a normal thing.
Right.
So I think we should all be bracing a little bit for what this world looks like if we have to get the vaccine, if you want to work for a particular company. And he also said that 64% of working Americans are likely to get the vaccine once it's available. Okay. I think people are just kind of fed up and tired. And some people just say, look, I capitulate, give me the vaccine. I just want to live a normal life, right? Whatever normal is. So I think he's on to something. And this guy obviously knows what he's talking about, but he's on to something. But I think at the end of the day, it's really up to you in the terms of like your fluidity and what your company does. Right. So Duncan, if your company said something, right, up to you and your family, you have a discussion, you talk about it, you feel, if this is the best thing for, you, best thing for your wife, your kids, everything like that. It's the same thing. But this is such more of a discussion because we don't know the long-term implications. And I think Tanisha said that in her email.
Right.
People are nervous, right? Because you don't know the long-term implications of this, right? You just know that you need to get a vaccine. But, it's the hope that all vaccines, as they have before, have improved life in some ways, right? For us to be vaccinated for certain things. But we just don't know everything and anything at this time. But it's up to you and your choice. So that's what I have to say for this, Dunk, in terms of the COVID-19 vaccination. It is technically legal. And, it's up to you and your company if they deem it business necessity.
Definitely.
So what do you think about that, Dunk?
Mm-hmm. So I totally agree. So, one, I would definitely stress to companies, listen, if you are going to put a plan in place to say that, all of your employees, especially if they're, non-essential employees, have to be vaccinated, I suggest that you have a strong policy put in place. I suggest that, you consult on the different laws that are in place at this point, because like I said, it's a very slippery slope. And I think, once again, going back to that conversation that we often have, in the African American community, and I don't want to speak for all African Americans, but because we are not a monolithic people.
That's a fact.
Definitely. But definitely, when we talk about, if you take the Atlanta, Georgia, for example, during NBA All-Star weekend, right? You would think that COVID-19 did not exist down there, during that time, but that's just not true, right? And then also, I think that if you speak with some African Americans as well, they are very reluctant to get the COVID-19 vaccination, which I think they have every right to, right? Because if we look at history per se, and what's been done to African Americans, when we talk about in 1951, Henrietta Lacks, who's who had cervical cancer, and her stem cells were reproduced because they were actually reproducing at a rapid rate. If we look at one of the most prominent cases when we talk about African Americans in I think it was 1931, when we talk about the Tuskegee experiments. right?
Mm-hmm.
We had African
Mm-hmm.
American farmers who were purposely, given syphilis and not given the cure, right? And told this was something that when they were given syphilis, told that this was something, that they needed and was good for them, right? I think someone I just read the other day when they talked about Johnson and Johnson and
Yeah.
the baby powder, which had cancerous materials in it. And so when we talk about these things and why African Americans are very reluctant, to come forth, to actually, get this. And I think Monica Monet has just said it best in the comments
Yeah.
is historical distrust, right?
Right.
And so how do we trust these things that, we are, really putting into our bodies, right? And if you look at, Planned Parenthood and all those things, all these systems and different things that were utilized to, really cut down African Americans. It's very relevant and prevalent. But I will say that it is definitely important, for you to make that decision for your family, for your community as well, because people are dying. I mean, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
I've experienced.
Too real.
Right, know individuals that have passed away from
Yeah.
COVID-19, especially if you have underlying conditions. It is definitely not a
Mm-hmm.
joke. But also, and I think the last thing I'll say, Jay Tyler, is that to employers, right? Technology has shown us that you don't have to mandate people to come back to the office, right? Especially if it's not necessary. If you just want
Right.
someone to the office just to say that they're there, or because you are a micromanager and you have to see everything that employee
Right.
is.
Or you're lazy. You're just lazy and not want to go with the times. Let's be real.
Right.
But go ahead. Yeah.
No,
Mhm.
you're right. If you're
Yeah.
if you're lazy,
Lazy.
right, and not want to go with the time, if you don't want to update, and learn the
Right.
different technology, I think you really need to check yourself.
Right.
Before you begin to put policies in place, that's going to disrupt, your working community, your talent, right? Because you don't want to lose great talent, because you think that everybody should be vaccinated just to return to work.
But Dunk, I think I'm going to say something about that too, because it's nothing wrong with employees to have a town hall meeting or discussion with HR and their senior leadership about this.
Right.
There's nothing greater in the workplace than transparent, honest communication.
That's right.
If an employee doesn't feel that they're valued, they don't feel that they have a voice, they don't feel that there's an actual exchange that's going on, then how can they trust what the company is saying? Right? How can they feel that I can buy into this? Right? How can I feel that my employer is doing everything that they can to not have us mandated for the vaccine, that they're trying different things and not being lazy, right? Because they don't want to find out the different technologies that we can, trust our employees to do what they're doing when they are home, right? That's your problem if you have an employee who's not doing what they're doing, or employees are not doing what they're doing because you maybe didn't hire right. It should be inside them when you hire someone. You should know. And again, there's other ways to monitor individuals, other ways to engage individuals when they're working from home. But I do think there's lazy work in some of the companies as well, when they're not really ready or know how to handle this. And that's okay, but let your people know, hey, look, I'm going to have something for you next week. We got a meeting coming up next week. And so you better make sure in the back offices and HR spaces and executive leadership boardrooms, let's talk about this. Let's really come up with a plan and bring HR strategically to the table, right? So they can work with the people and really be humanistic about this thing. Because as you said, too many people have died and lost their lives, have been negatively and adversely affected, right? To play around with this decision and your policies, right? And so I think that's what you should demand if you're an employee. Like, hey, we need to have a conversation about this. And strength is in numbers, as everyone knows in the workplace. Strength is in numbers. Demand that so you have a conversation so you can get the real answers that you need.
Right.
Maybe I'm being too radical. I just saw Judas and the Black Messiah. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm asking for too much. You know what I mean?
I am a revolutionary. Yes, sir. But no, so and I just want to hit definitely two last points on that too. So when employers talking about mandating, if you're going to mandate that your employees get vaccinated before they return to work, you also have to look realistically, right? So if you're mandating that, do your employees have access to vaccination? Because we also have seen, once again, and largely in urban communities, the lack of access to get vaccinated, the disorganization to get people to those places to actually become vaccinated, right? And so we've seen that, especially I just read an article in Philadelphia where they hired a company, a startup to manage all their vaccination, and to find out it was a sham.
Oh, yes.
Data messed up. Once again, African Americans and or minorities at a large part were not getting the vaccinations. And then at the end of the day, the city of Philadelphia had to just step away from that startup and really start all over, right? So that is really one main piece that you want to look at. Does the community that person is living actually have access to become vaccinated, right? And I think the second piece we have to look at too, for the people that are looking for employment as well, that this can be a selling point to employers, right? So if you are vaccinated, you can say to employers, well, listen, I've had the vaccination, and use that actually as a selling point if you are actually looking for employment as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what else we can really say about it. I think Tanisha should have a little bit of a blueprint, on what to do. And just know, Tanisha, that you're not going to be the only one thinking about this or going through this. I think it's going to be coming down the pike. Someone for like myself that's in an expatriate, right? That's in another country. We have no choice. We have to do it, right? So I'm in education. So I'm assuming education, especially in America, healthcare, definitely going to mandate, individuals getting vaccinations. So you already can expect that. But, here as an education professional, I had to get it as well. And this is not a democracy, right? Really cool monarchy, though, but it's not a democracy. And, had to get it done, right? And if I wanted to continue working here. But end of the day, though, the world is more connected than we think. And I think this is going to be happening in a lot of other countries, whether the employee is going to ask for it, the airline is going to ask for it, whether, the country is going to ask for a vaccination. This world is becoming a lot more connected. So you really got to make some decisions, based on religious grounds, disabilities. Pregnancy is a big issue as well. If a pregnant woman should get it or not. It's a huge issue.
J-Tal, let me ask you a question, right? And it's a two things, right? Because so when we talk about here in America, right? So we talk about education. We look at like the NJEA, New Jersey Education Association, which is a very large union. We have other unions such as CWLA, ASME. I can go on and on. And so when we talk about employers, especially if you're a public employee that is under a union, right? Now you have to go through a collective bargaining agreement, right? To actually have that go forth, right, with that union. And so I'm curious to know, being that you are expat, right? You are expat. You are in the teacher field, but also where you live in Qatar, it's a very religious country, right? And so how do individuals there feel about the government mandating them to get vaccinated?
Well, I think they so far are on a heavy push to get 90% of the country vaccinated. Okay. So there are obviously a segment of people who are against it. And there have been rumblings about it. But I don't know if the numbers are enough to make changes. I think they're going to continue going on with their plan. As of right now, education professionals are mandated if they want to enter their workplace and get paid, you will have to get the vaccine. If you're a healthcare, employee, you will have to get the vaccine. Right now, those are the two industries that they're saying, no matter what, you got to do it if you want to continue working here, right? If not, they were saying that, you can get a test every single week and show receipt of that test every single week if you don't want to get the vaccine. So it's not like you don't have a choice, but it may be inconvenient to get the test. But if you don't really want to get it, you have to provide that every single week. And then, we have an app here where we show the app everywhere we go, that if we're green, we're safe to enter. If we're yellow, that means we're in quarantine. If red, that means that we got COVID, we shouldn't be out. So the app actually is really important. Because if your app says that you're not, vaccinated and things like that, then people may not let you in unless you can show that you got a test and that you're clear for that week, right? And so this is a really big thing. But again, this is countrywide, and this is a very small country. This is about a country of less than 3,000 people, right? And so, and also too, if you're your own business owner at this time, there's no really mandate on you yet, because we're still going through the required folk, right? The healthcare and education people, right? So we haven't even gotten down to everyone else in all these other industries.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, we still got some time to go. But again, at least in America, it may not seem like you have the freedom yet, but you still do have a freedom. And I think entrepreneurship liberates you as well. That's another conversation.
Mm.
So if you don't want to be, within the vaccination realm or having to make a choice or decision, a lot of freelancers, a lot of people who are working from home on their own business, they don't have to decide that right at this moment.
Right.
Right? They can see
Right.
live your life right at this moment. So that begs another question for us, why some people you might see leave the workforce and go for their own at this moment instead of being mandated by their employee to do that.
Right.
So, and the other last thing, Dunk, too, airlines are going to be something that's going to be interesting because the airlines may not let you get onto a plane and fly if you don't have the vaccine. That has happened here, right? So again, that's something to look at as well. It may not be your employer. It could be the airlines. You want to travel and do something. They may say, no, you need that vaccine. So it's coming. It's coming in terms of that app, that everybody's going to have to show. Right.
So all those trips to Puerto Rico, some of them have to start driving. Okay.
Yeah. The DR trip is a wrap for you.
Right. That's right. Then you're there. Okay?
Right. Yeah. So that's how it is over here. I mean, I love working over here, things like that. It's not a super big deal, but it was a little conflict of interest for me personally. Had to do some more research, if you will. So.
No, definitely. So once again, just to wrap it up, yes, Tanisha, your employer, your employer can mandate you that you get vaccinated before you return back to work. But once again, like I said, if you are an employer, if you're in a management position, please definitely give considerations to, making sure your employee feels comfortable, working wherever they have to work from. They don't have to, they don't have to be in the office if they don't have to be. If they're not an essential employee, if they, if there's nothing in the office, for them, but if they're just coming to work, if you're just mandating them to come to the office, I don't think that makes work, a good workplace.
So yeah, so I'm done. I think we could wrap up, on the discussion. Last thing I would say from my end as a parting shot, I appreciate everyone that came on to the live today to check it out and to see what we were discussing with the COVID in the workplace. And my special condolences and heartfelt just love for anyone who has been adversely affected from COVID at this time. It's a lot of us, but don't give up, right? We got to keep moving. End of the day, no matter what, slow motion better than no motion, right? I think Kanye said something like this in the past, right? But just keep that in mind, that don't let this defeat you. You have to go defeat it, right? And we will. So.
Okay, you sound real motivational today.
I don't know, man. I got a pulpit. I'm right in the pulpit right now. You know what I'm saying? Got the holy water on me, ready to roll.
Yes, sir. We'll take it. Mask up. We'll see you here again next Monday, 12 p.m. Bring your lunch. Please make sure you jump in the comments. Join the conversation. Subscribe. Hit that like button. Hit that share button.
Please do.
If your employer, gives you any problem, you can just show them this.
Right. Let them know.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Oh, hey there. My name is Tim Murphy. Stop what you're doing right now and give me 10 seconds. I have something really important to share with you. Now, you're probably not happy with your job, and they probably aren't paying you the money that you deserve. Let me tell you about MercerCountyWorks.com. They're the #1 fastest growing job engine in New Jersey. And unlike Monster, Career Builder, and Glassdoor, Mercer County Works connects directly with employers to get your resume in front of decision makers. Okay, stop looking at me and go to MercerCountyWorks.com right now and upload your resume today.